everyone, and welcome back to Reading the Arcana. Today we will be finishing books 1 through 5, and yeah, let's get started. Book 4, The Emperor. I'm back on the black stone path, whipped by wind and rust-colored sand. The thick, dark clouds hanging overhead are heavier than before. But if I'm dreaming again, where is Azra? The unforgiving winds burn my eyes as I search the desolate landscape. Up ahead, too far to reach, Azra is still with the lumbering beast. They've stopped at a fork in the road. One way goes east, the other west. Azra dismounts the creature, placing a hand on its hide. It turns down the path to the east. Azra walks west, and I know at once he is going the wrong way. Not that way! Not again! His head turns. Even from the uncrossable distance, I feel our eyes meet. "Okay?" His voice is just a longing whisper on the wind. Reach out to him. With all my will, I drive myself forward to reach out, close enough to grasp hold of his hand. When our hands touch, his eyes are wide with wonder. Before everything around us dissolves and falls away. It's yesterday in the dream. I'm sweeping up a mess of powdered bat milk when Azra wanders in. "Okay. Wait till you see what the woods had to offer today." Mushrooms, fruit, and roots tumble out of his bag onto the countertop. He leans on his elbows, hands under his chin, watching me with delight. "Wow, so much. This is more than we need." "I thought it'd be better to have plenty. I don't want to leave you here with nothing but pumpkin bread." With my hands occupied, Azra slips a gold berry into my mouth, and I chew slowly, tasting nothing. "Leave me, that's right." This was a moment right before he packed his bag to go. I wanted to tell him then. Now I can't remember why I didn't. I can't hold it in. "I want to come with you." Azra blinks, drops his gaze, and sighs. Gentle hands come to either side of my face as he looks deep into my eyes. "I know. I wish I could take you, but it's just too risky." Wherever he goes, it's too far, too fast, too risky for me, but not for him. I turn my face so my lips meet his palm. He goes still with surprise. "I'll risk it." "You will? Why? You want to join me in the den of the baby-eating blood mountain beast? Slog through the crawling maze of Torturia, only to end up in a quicksand pit in the bog of resistance?" He doesn't get it. He blinks when I shake away his touch. "I want to be with you. If you're going to Blood Mountain, that's where I want to be." You want to put yourself in danger to be with me? That's... Azra worries his lip in thought. He steps back, skating his hands down my arms. "You're really serious this time, huh? Turning you down is even harder than when we want the same thing. You don't want to be left behind, and I don't want to leave you, but sometimes we can't have what we want, even when it feels right. I'll bring you back whatever you want, okay? Anything." My brow furrows, and he squeezes my hand in apology. I don't want souvenirs. I want to be where he is. I thought he wanted the same. I grip his hands and look him in the eye. If I have to be the one to banish these doubts, I will. "Do you want me?" I feel it radiating off of him in waves, as if he can't contain it. Yes, yes, yes. I want you, I need you, I miss you so much. A tremor runs through his hands, and then his fingers carefully slide between mine as he lowers his gaze. I can't. If only you knew. When he pulls back, He looks into my eyes with such clarity that everything else goes out of focus. You're more honest in dreams. Just like I remember, Azure takes a flower and tucks it behind my ear before I can speak. I really can't wait to see you again. I'll be back soon. His voice reverberates through my consciousness, soft and full of promise. My mind grasps after the vestiges of dream, but it's futile. It's already fading away. Sunlight tickles my face, and I open my eyes with a groan. Morning, Kay. Portia sets out a tray of breakfast pastries when I slowly sit up. What a lovely sunrise. Did you sleep well? The Countess wants you to meet her in the library when you've eaten and dressed. Portia sets a neat pile of elegant clothing on the bed beside me. I unfold the top piece, marveling at the way the fabric moves. We took your old clothes to be laundered. The lady asked me to provide these for you. I'll be waiting in the hall whenever you're ready. Portia ducks out the door, and I move the silky garments aside and toss back my bed covers. I eat quickly, not wanting to keep the Countess waiting. The pastries are still warm and flaky, each more delicate and whimsical than the last. Then I disrobe and pull on my new outfit, fumbling with its clasp and buttons. Ooh, don't you look nice? The Countess has a real eye for fashion. She'll definitely be pleased. Portia stops before a panel in the wall, 3 times my height. It's crafted of smooth wood in all the colors of rippling honey. Carved with dizzying intricacy is a great tree in the height of maturity. Its leaves and fruit are inlaid with jewels, precious stones, and mother of pearl. It's my lady's own work. Beautiful, isn't it? Portia retrieves a ring of keys from her pocket. Then there are about a dozen, each carved with the same wood as the panel, and each bearing a distinct jewel. One by one, she finds her locks in the panel. With each key, the roots of the tree start to unwind from each other, pulling free from the floor. And when all the locks have been turned, the panel folds upon itself on either side, like a paper fan. There are books everywhere, books winding up the walls, reaching the ceiling. The Countess is waiting for us, seated in a reclining chair. Her eyes glitter with approval when she sees me. Kay, you look positively radiant. She gestures to the towering shelves around us. Do you read? I nod. The Countess tempers her surprise. Somehow I suspected that you might. It is a great gift to read. Where I come from, it is shared amongst all citizens, but woefully uncommon here. This way, if you please. She leads me deeper into the shelves. Portia follows with a jingling ring of keys. I can't stop staring at all the books. My fingers itch to run along their spines, but I resist. Kay, you are my guest. If you should like to return here, you only need ask. But for the moment... The Countess stops before an alcove nestled between the shelves. I would like to have your undivided attention here. A desk stands in a slim ray of daylight cast from a tiny window. Books, journals, papers, and scrolls cover every inch of the desk. Despite the clutter, everything is so carefully organized, someone's place of study preserved in time. This was Dr. Deverach's desk. He was employed at the palace, as was your master Azra. We called upon them to concoct a cure for the plague. My blood runs cold. The Red Plague, as it was called, swept through the city like wildfire. It claimed young and old, frail and strong. There was no way to tell who would succumb. Cases are rare now, but I can't remember the last time I saw the telltale red whites of someone's eyes. Physicians, scientists, alchemists, fortune-tellers, magicians. All were invited in hopes that our resources may aid in their research. Perhaps he was even plotting then, but the doctor accepted our invitation, as did your master Azra. Her gaze shifts to the window. It overlooks a large willow tree, which hangs over the fountain in the garden below. I have had the desk and its contents examined laboriously. Nothing of consequence has been found. But perhaps she will make better use of it. It is the best lead I can offer. She draws away, passing me and perfuming the air with jasmine. The search for Dr. Deverak is now in your hands. You may proceed as you see fit. I only ask that you meet me at dinner this evening. She smiles serenely and sweeps out of the room, Portia following in her wake. I'm left alone with the doctor's desk. There's a stack of books, a leather-bound folio, and scrolls tucked away into little rows of drawers. Check the scrolls. I unfurl one of the scrolls, and the paper is soft, almost powdery to the touch. It is written in a hurried, fluid scrawl that is nearly impossible to read. At the bottom of the page, isolated from the dense swath of cursive, is a single letter, J. I narrow my eyes at the scribbles on the page, trying to make sense of them. Dear sister? Yes, I think it's addressed dear sister. I run my fingers over the words, and my heart skips a beat. I feel a sharp jolt of longing and old regret. Suddenly, I realize I'm sensing what the doctor was feeling when he wrote the letter. I quickly rewind the scroll and tuck it into my bag. This fragile piece of paper, it's something the doctor cared about, something with a connection to him. A surge of excitement and apprehension rushed through me. I can use this. With a scroll and my magic to assist me, I might be able to find him. I glance out the window at the sky. It's a bit past noon, and if I'm quick, I should be back in time for dinner with the Countess. The sun starts dipping in the sky as I make my way back into the city. My breath grows short as tremors of anxiety radiate from my gut, spreading to my fingertips. I haven't done magic like this on my own. I've always had Azra with me before. Azra. Memories of his familiar voice soothe my mind. Start with your breath, follow with your heart, and be present. Finding the calm I need, I gather up my magic, holding the scroll in both hands. A tingling sensation grows at the base of my neck, and I follow the feeling away from the palace and through the city streets. I end up in a narrow, slippery street at the south end of Vesuvia. Its shabby stones are layered like scales. Clustered apartments line the passage, and murky reddish water swirls in the sluggish canal. Suddenly, a door in front of me swings open, casting warm light down 3 jagged stone steps. Oh, I'll be back, just stepping out for some air. I freeze mid-step, my heart leaping into my throat. My spell worked. But I hadn't thought about what to do when I found him. I try to back away quietly, but something catches my heel, toppling me into an empty barrel. The next thing I know, I'm staring at the sky, limbs flailing uselessly as quick bootsteps approach. Hello. That was quite a tumble. Are you all right? The doctor leans over the barrel, extending a hand. He rears back when he sees my face. The shopkeep. What are you doing here? Come on, upsy-daisy. A firm grip encircles each of my wrists, and I'm hauled out of the barrel like a snail shucked from its shell. I stagger forward into the doctor's broad, gleaming chest. For a moment, his eye meets mine, in surprise at our sudden proximity. Then, with a friendly pat to my arms, he releases me. I take a good look at my surroundings for the first time. We're behind a tavern, well hidden from the street. Painted on the door is a cackling blackbird, lying back on a crescent moon. The rowdy raven, it reads. Dare I ask what brings you to this neck of the woods? I open my mouth, but no words come out. How do I even begin to explain? The doctor gives me a knowing look and casts a glance to the open door. Its farm light glows between us. He turns to me with a glint in his eye. Rumor has it you're working for the palace. Oh, I'm sure Well, by now, you've heard some interesting stories about me. I nod. That much is true, if a gross understatement. But you haven't heard my side of the tale, have you? That's true, too. All of my knowledge is from the Countess's account. The wanted posters and the muddled rumors. Besides, I do still owe you for the reading. Are you thirsty? My treat. I am thirsty. His face splits into a brilliant grin. Oh, well, fantastic. Please, allow me. He beckons me up to the steps of the door, easing it open and leading me into the warmth inside. It's not even sundown, but the tavern is in full swing. The noise is cacophonous. The barkeep, wide, scar-faced, and barrel-armed, gives the doctor a cheeky salute when we pass by. A cackling drunkard swings out a wooden lead, which Dr. Debrak politely pushes aside. Tutting, my escort guides me to a cozy booth in the back. You just make yourself comfortable, and I'll be right back. He breezes past me towards the bar, and I try to sit still as I look around. Nearby, a pair of old crones are hunched over a card game, attended by a squabbling crowd. Up at the bar, the doctor chats with the barkeep, and they both erupt into peals of laughter at some joke. He looks perfectly at ease, so different from when I met him in the shop. He turns, making his way back to me with our drinks. He sets mine before me. He slides into the booth across from me, gulping down his drink with gusto. I peer into the golden liquid in my cup. It smells faintly like fruit. I take a sip. It's refreshing, barely sweet, and it fizzes on the way down. You know, I never did get your name. Fingers interlocking on the table between us, he gives me a look of encouragement. Kay. Ah, Kay. What a lovely name. A musical name. Kay. He offers me his hand, and though I hesitate to place mine in his leathery grip, I manage. His smile broadens to a toothy grin. I clear my throat, looking him dead in the eye. You said you'd tell me your side of the story. Oh, I did, didn't I? How careless of me. He laughs at my incredulous expression. Then he leans back in the booth, long limbs going every which way. All right, ask anything you like. Wordlessly, I reach into my bag and hand him a scroll from the library. Once he starts reading, the smile slides from his face. He leans over the page, frowning in concentration. Where did you find this? It was on your desk, in the palace library. He looks away, but not before I see a flinch of pain across his face. Well, it's just a letter, but you knew that. Dear so-and-so. Dear sister. His eyes flick up at me, mortified. You can read this? Not really, but he doesn't need to know that. I shrug noncommittedly. Dear sister, I have much to share with you since I last wrote. Winter has come to the palace. These marble floors are so cold each morning. The more he reads, the more he pauses to massage his temples or to pinch the bridge of his nose. By the time he's finished, he looks wistful, drained. He rolls up the letter and hands it back to me. Absent-mindedly, he reaches for his stein, tossing the rest of his drink down his throat. You have a sister? A wet cough, spluttering, and he sets down the empty drink. I do. I haven't seen her since she was, this high. His fingers flutter just above the lip of the table. Excuse me. Whisking the empty steins away, Julian heads back to the bar. Shrill bickering erupts from the card-playing crone's table. Julian whispers to one of the crones as he passes by and taps a single card in her hand. The card is played, throwing the crowd into chaos. Julian ducks away just as someone douses him with their drink. He's still wiping it off, chuckling when he returns to his seat. You'd think I would know better than to get involved. I raise an eyebrow. He's not wearing a mask here, and everyone seems to know him. You're not worried about being seen? Here? No, I'm not worried. Folks around here aren't known to, oblige to the wants and wishes of the palace. Even the Raven spends his time scouting for guards, obsessively. Julian scans the smoky rafters while I process what he told me. It's a little surprising. Where Azra and I live, the guards are treated with reverence and fear in no small measure. Suddenly the raven burst in through the dusty window overhead, flying in loops with a guttural shriek. The bird beats himself against a string of bells, and the tavern erupts in chaos. Guards! Palace guards! Patrons claw their way out of every door and window, playing cards tossed and fluttering in the air. Julian scoops me bodily from my seat and rushes me out the back door into the alley. It's getting cold, and the sun's almost set completely. The doctor casts a frantic glance up and down the alley before crowding me into the shadows. You'll be able to find your way, yes? The guards aren't after you. I nod. He clasps my upper arms and looks me deep into my eyes. Thanks for not... thanks, Kay. He turns and vanishes, leaving me all alone in the silent, shuttered alley. Now what do? I thought Julian might give me answers, but all I have are more swirling questions. Hey, you there! I roll around as the two armed guards appear at the alley entrance. They march towards me, but when they're close enough to see my face, they stop. Oh, the Countess's magician. The guard gives me a short, sharp bow. I'm Ludovico. We met yesterday at the gates. I nod, trying to summon up some courage, confidence. Yes, I'm supposed to dine with the Countess again tonight, but it's getting late. Ludovico briskly waves off my unasked question. We'll hire your carriage back. Don't want to keep the Countess waiting. He leads me back to a broader street, hails a gilded carriage, and closes the door behind me. The palace looms over the carriage as it approaches, the white monolith against the twinkling night sky. Portia's waiting for me at the gates, ready to help me out of the carriage. She's unusually quiet, not at all her usual cheerful self. I keep silent as well, occupied by the tangled thoughts of my own. The grand doors swing open as we arrive to reveal an extravagant meal piled high along the table. Everything is richly seasoned with rare spices, and I can recognize the scent of saffron wafting towards me. You're right on time, Kay. I hope your day was fruitful. A servant seats me and fills my glass with a pale rose beverage. The delicate floral aroma reminds me of the Countess's perfume. First, let us attend to some small matters. My courtiers are most eager to meet you. I shall introduce you to them tomorrow afternoon. They want to know everything about you, but choose wisely what you wish to tell. I will be informing them of the masquerade as well. I imagine they will be ecstatic. I nod, slowly, as I choose my food. The ways of the court are foreign to me, but I can trust at the very least that the Countess won't allow me to be an embarrassment. And tomorrow at noon, Portia will lead a retinue into the town square to announce the masquerade. Once the townspeople hear, word shall spread on its own, and then it shall be out of our hands. I imagine the crowds will be eager to see Count Lucio's murderer hang. I think of Julian, bathed in the warm, welcoming light of the tavern, swinging from the gallows. My heart grows cold at the image, but I'm careful not to let it show on my face. But these are tomorrow's matters. Tonight, Kay, I have questions. Questions? I brace myself for the inevitable queries about where I went, what I've been doing. Yes, I wish to become familiar with you. Her words catch me off guard. I didn't expect her to have any interest in who I was. Let us be strangers no longer. May tonight be the beginning of a valuable friendship. She starts with simple questions: how I enjoy the town, my daily goings-on, and my favorite thing to eat. I ask her questions in turn and learn that her favorite food is spiced swordfish. In Prakra, spiced swordfish is a summer dish. I would hardly suffer a warm night without it. Prakra, a vast land in the north, the Countess's home, though I thought it was only a rumor. The kitchen does try to humor my requests, but alas, they can never seem to spice it quite right. Do you ever miss living there? The Countess looks thoughtfully down into her glass, elegant fingers curled delicately around its stem. Perhaps, but I don't think I would ever return to Prokra. There are things I miss about my home. Often, when I was feeling morose, I would take a walk down to the white beaches of my homeland. Observing the opalescent waves crash over the sands would soothe my worried soul. The bittersweet expression on her face as she speaks of her homeland makes her look years younger. I notice that the servants are listening as they work, watching the Countess and I with wandering eyes. Well, if we are to reminisce, perhaps we should do it with somewhere more private. Would you care to join me on the veranda for a nightcap? She looks down on me, a soft smile tugging at her lips. Just the two of us, of course. Then she holds out her hand towards me, waiting expectantly. I take her hand with trepidation. She grips it warmly and firmly, looking pleased as we head out onto the veranda. A cool night breeze greets us, and the star-filled sky is bright and vast overhead. No servants follow us. It's just Nadia, me, and the brilliant stars overhead. Have a seat. I settle down into a plush chair at her order, shifting a little to get comfortable. She picks up a crystal decanter filled with pale liquid and pours us both a glass. Elderflower cordial, one of my favorites. There's silence, not quite comfortable. Then Nadia turns her gaze from the garden to me and gives me a warm smile. You are quite different from how I imagined you. I will admit I find your presence quite intriguing. Somehow, the Countess has a way of making me feel at ease and nervous at the same time. In town, there are whispers that Countess Nadia is a tyrant. But the woman in front of me seems genuine, kind, and a little lonely. Tell me, Kay, why did you come to the palace? Why agree to help me? Well, I was curious. Curious? And have you satisfied that curiosity? A long tendril of hair falls into her face as she tilts her head, waiting for the answer. But I don't have one. Not yet. I only have more questions. It's refreshing to sit with a like-minded individual. There are so many questions in this world. Perhaps we can discover some answers together. Her gaze rakes over me for a moment longer, lingering on my face. Do you have any more questions for me, Kay? Know that you are free to speak in my presence. I have a lot of questions for Nadia, but if I asked them all now, I worried we'd never leave the veranda. For now, I need to know. Why are you doing this? What a vague question. What exactly do you mean? Well, the murder investigation. The Count has been dead for years, so why now? You're quite right to ask, Kay. Vesuvia is in dire need of help. Order needs to be restored, and I am in the unique position to restore it. However, I intend to lead by example, not fear. I must show the city I am capable. I have so many plans for Vesuvia. I want to see this city flourish. Perhaps you've been able to help me with those plans, Kay? I could use some more competent people on my side. The lonely aura from early returns, heavy and thick in the air. Does she really have no one else to rely on? Slowly, I reach out, taking her hand in mine. Surprise flashes through her eyes, and for a moment I think she's going to pull away. But then she smiles and squeezes back. How sweet of you are, Kay. Nadia pauses, then slowly brings her hand to my hand to her lips, brushing a feather-like kiss against it. It seems you've had a long day. I won't keep you any longer. Thank you for coming to the palace. My dreams did not lead me astray. Then she smiles and picks up a small silver bell, its handle carved into the shape of a swan's neck, and rings it. The door to the veranda opens immediately as Portia bustles in. You rang, milady? I did. Please, show Kay to the guest rooms. Of course, milady. I can almost swear I see Nadia wink at me as I leave. Our footsteps echo in the empty halls, and Portia walks cheerfully beside me. Here, I'll show you the short cut back to your room, okay? Just in case Mercedes and Melchior are skulking around again. She leads me down a narrow, dusty hallway. Her fingers find the edge of a moth-eaten tapestry. With a dramatic flourish, she reveals a secret passage on the other side. She throws a smile and a wink my way, gesturing for me to step in. You knew this was here? Her soft laugh echoes down a gloomy hallway, and her eyes glitter with mischief. It's my job to know everything around here, including little tricks like this. It's dim on the other side, the floor uneven beneath my feet. I have no idea where I am, but Portia seems to know exactly where she's going. You know, things have gotten a lot more interesting around here since you showed up. And all the rumors floating around? My goodness, you'd think we'd have nothing to do but chat. Do you hear a lot of rumors? Why? Is there something you want to tell me, Kay? Caught off guard, I lapse into silence. I don't even know how to begin explaining what happened at the Rowdy Raven. After a few twists and turns, we're back in the narrow passage, and back in the guest wing. It seems servants came during the day to tidy up. They've placed a fresh pitcher of water on the desk. Incense burns by the window, filling the room with hazy swirls of wood and spice. When I drop my bag at the foot of the bed, the scroll from Julian's desk rolls out. Portia spots it, and she looks as if she's dying to ask a question, but it falters before it can escape her lips. You seem concerned. Concerned? Me? Maybe. It's just the doctor. He can't be the only suspect, right? Just between you and me, I think Count Lucio had a lot of enemies, too. I wasn't working here when it happened. I only heard rumors of what went on that night. Just keep your eyes peeled for anything strange, all right? Then she smiles, the worry clearing from her face, and she leans in close to me, voice low. You know, if you're not too tired yet, I could show you around the palace. There's a lot of interesting things in the grounds. Maybe I could even show you some more secrets. If you think you can handle them. Is she teasing me? She gives me another wink and tilts her head, waiting for an answer. All right, show me the secrets. I knew I'd like you, Kay. We're gonna be great friends. Come on, let's go. I'll show you the really good stuff. She hooks her arm around mine and leads me off down the hall, a bounce in her step. Portia pushes open some swinging doors and leads me into a vast kitchen. Someone in a flower-dusted apron lifts their head and smiles as they see us enter, waving cheerfully to Portia. Portia, still on duty for the night? Not exactly. I'm just showing Kay around the place. Yeah, new recipe. I'm trying it out. The chef tosses Portia a roll from across the wooden counter. She catches it without looking and then turns to me. If you ever find yourself hungry at midnight, the door's always open. Just make sure you don't run into Hestian's breakfast prep. I'm not responsible for any harm that might befall you. She slides me another roll and slips out of the kitchen before Hestian notices. We'll use the secret passage to get to the veranda. Saves a lot of time when you're in a hurry. Just a warning, though, it's kind of creepy. She takes us to the end of a small hall, and we're standing in front of a large painting of Mercedes and Melchior. A pile of pomegranates spill out at their feet, and their paws are stained with red juices. She grips the edge of the painting and swings it open, revealing a secret archway beyond. Think you could help us out with a little light, Kay? I focus on my magic. A orb of soft, warm light sprouts from my fingers and floats around us in friendly circles. Wow. Would you look at that? We pass through the arch into a larger, dusty passage. The walls are lined with paintings of animals, all pure white, with red eyes that glint like rubies in the dim light. This used to be the Count's Menagerie Gallery, but no one really goes here anymore, so they say there's a ghost wandering these halls. And if you follow its voice, you'll never be seen again. Has that ever happened? Oh, sure. Servants are always popping up after shirking their duties, saying the gallery ghost got them. And it usually just turns out that they fell asleep in the larder and wanted to blame Ghost. No doubt there's some weird stuff going on around here, though. I wouldn't worry about it, but don't just go off wandering into any dark, creepy hallways alone, okay? We reach the end of the hallway, and Portia swings open a small door, letting us out into the veranda. The veranda is surprisingly busy as we arrive, full of servants in varying states of activity. Cheerful voices greet us, people calling out to Portia as we pass. Taking the long way home tonight, Portia? She's probably showing her new magician around the place. Jealous, baboosh? You'll have to wait your turn if you want to spend time with Kay. The servants are always attentive and alert when I'm with Nadia. Now they seem more relaxed. A few are even taking a break by the banister, leaning against it and chatting. One of them, tall and lanky, gives Portia a lazy smile as we head down the stairs. Have a good night, Portia. You too, Pinsies. Try not to fall off the veranda. Portia leads me into the grounds towards the maze. It's getting pretty late, but I've got one last stop before the end of the tour. I think you're gonna really like it. She takes my hand, leading me through the winding hedges. We reach a crumbly old arch covered in carved stone roses. The top has collapsed, leaving only the supports. On the other side of it is a dead end, but I can feel a whisper of magic licking at my skin. Check this out. She laughs, pulling me through the arch, and suddenly the scenery changes. We step out into the hallway of the palace, brightly lit, out of the way. In the distance, I can hear servants chatting. Isn't it amazing? I bet there's portals like this all over the palace, leading to lots of different places. Maybe you can help me find more. I bet a great magician like you would have no problem finding them all. But I've kept you long enough. We've got an early morning tomorrow, okay? So you better get some sleep. She leads me back to the guest room and pauses just inside the door. Oh, I almost forgot. Milady wants you to join us in town tomorrow for the announcement. So I'll see you in the morning, Kay. Thanks for coming with me tonight. Portia smiles, squeezing my shoulder, then leaves me alone in my room and my thoughts. Book 5, The Hierophant. It's the morning of the masquerade announcement. I need to be back in the square for it at noon, but for now, I'm checking in on the shop. I want supplies for my investigation. reagents, herbs, one of Azra's magic books. Hopping up the steps, I press my palm to the door and release the sealing spell. I spot a small leather pouch resting on the stoop. Someone left this for me. Picking the knot, I open the pouch. Inside is magic mixture. Myrrh is the strongest, but there are other herbs. A mixture for protection. I cast a glance to either side of the street, but there's no one nearby. I fetch my keys and turn the locks. Just as I lean on the door, it swings open and I nearly collapse into the last person I expect to see. Dr. Deverak? The sight of him freezes me in my tracks, and the pouch drops from my nerveless fingers. I struggle to speak, but he beats me to it.
Well, hello there. Fancy seeing you here. Maybe not so surprising. I was in the neighborhood, and you look, splendid, marvelous. I'll stop wringing my hands.
For a moment I think about calling the guards, but I hesitate. This is the second time he's been in my shop. Will the guards think I'd be harboring him? I fix him with a narrow gaze. How do you keep getting in? I know I locked up after the first time, so you've either broken in or
I've got a key.
With a click of his tongue and a ragged sigh, the doctor pulls a little key from his coat pocket.
Here, if it makes any difference, you can take it. I won't be using it again anyway. That's a promise.
He waits patiently as I take the key and compare it to my others. It lines up with the key to the back room. Who gave this to you?
You don't, well, let's just say I needed to make a couple of house calls after hours.
My eyebrows shoot up. My house calls after hours? To the shop? Was Azra ever that ill? And if he had been, would he have told me? I frowned, pocketing the key and giving the doctor a wary look.
Oh, I hope you don't think I'm a thief. I'm a lot of things, but not that. You wouldn't take my word for it, would you?
To my surprise, the doctor shucks off his overcoat and starts to unbutton his waistcoat. He throws it open with a flutter, arms outstretched, palm in submission.
Search me. If you find anything of yours, I'll show myself the stocks. Go ahead, search until you're satisfied.
He lowers his eyes, presenting himself for inspection. The sight makes me grow hot at the ears, embarrassed. I think I will. From the stunned look on his face, he didn't expect me to take him up on it.
You're just full of surprises, aren't you? Well then, don't be shy. I promise I'll be good.
I step closer, eyes roaming over his body, unsure of where to begin. I gingerly run my hands down one of his arms. I can feel how cool his skin is, even through the thin material of his shirt. I've never been this close to him before. There's barely a sliver of space between us. The leather of his glove creaks as he flexes the lean muscles of his arm under my hand.
Oh, you have such lovely hands. You can squeeze a little harder, you know. I won't mind.
True to his brazen words, he bites his lip when I press more firmly in his other arm, but doesn't protest.
Come to think of it, I haven't seen you this close in broad daylight before.
He reaches for me, trying to close the last inch between our bodies. Please stop moving. He pauses mid-motion, tilting his head curiously.
So polite. I can take a little rough handling, you know. You could take more liberties with me.
His tone is provocative, but the look in his eyes is almost eager. I circle behind him, and he twists around to watch me, not letting me out of his sight. His eyes bright with interest, and my cheeks warm under his shameless stare.
I had no idea you were so hands-on. How daring of you. Aren't you afraid someone will see? I hadn't even thought of that. Suddenly very conscious of where we are, I stepped back. What was I thinking? Anyone could have seen us. Luckily, it's a foggy morning, and the guards are nowhere in sight. Don't tell me you've changed your mind. Or did you want a little more privacy? There's so much you haven't seen yet. After all, wouldn't you like to? My cheeks prickle with heat. He chuckles, looking terribly pleased with himself. Shouldn't you be afraid of being seen? Worried about me? How sweet of you. Don't fret, I'm only in trouble when I want to be. Somehow, I doubt that. All the same, I haven't found anything suspicious on him. All right, I believe you. Wait. Really? Really? It's a terrible idea. We shouldn't take anyone at their word, least of all me. But, well, I do hope you're satisfied. I would just hate to disappoint you.
He retrieves his overcoat with a showy flourish and slips it back on. Well, I'm sure you have things to do, so I'll just be getting out of your way. He takes a wide step, contorting his long form around me to pass. His broad grin takes only a second to fade before shock takes over his features. I look carefully over my shoulder. Portia. She must have come to find me, but she pays me no attention at all. All of her focus, the suspended disbelief in her wide eye, is on the man beside me. And when she speaks, the word that escapes her sounds different. An unused voice from the depths of her heart. Ilya? Portia stumbles, then runs to the steps. I back into a wall as she throws herself at the doctor. Ilya, is that really you? Her shaking hands come to either side of his face, and his eyes starts to shine. It's me. You bastard, what are you doing here? Out in the open? Are you trying to get yourself killed? Her fingers curl, tugging at his ears and drawing a shameful wince. You've grown up strong, Pasha. I'm sorry I wasn't there to see it. Oh, I'll show you sorry. You unbelievable Kay. She releases Julian's ears and seizes his collar, tugging him off the stoop. I'll catch up with you later, okay? Without further ado, Portia hauls the floundering doctor down a nearby alley, leaving me to ponder. Didn't they seem like family? I enter my shop and head straight for the back room. I linger over Azra's possessions, his clothing and magical relics, comforted by his smoky scent. But I can't stay long. I'm expected in the square. I collect the magical components I need, but the book is nowhere to be found. It's one of Azra's. Did he take it with him when he left? Before I know it, the sun is high in the sky. A distant clock tolls the hour, shocking to my feet. The announcement! Biting my lip in vexation, I abandon my search and close up shop, heading for the city square. The square is densely packed, smaller folks and latecomers circling the perimeter for a better view. A pleasant smell I can't place is wafting from nearby. Ahem! Hear ye, hear ye! This is an announcement from your Countess Nadia. On the anniversary of the passing of your beloved Count Lucio, the Countess will open the palace gates. That's right, folks. All are invited to mourn, not to mourn, but to celebrate the spirit of the dearly departed Count. A ripple of loud excitement passes through the crowd. At its edge, I follow the familiar scent, myrrh. The leather pouch dropped on my shop's doorstep comes to mind. And then I come upon a figure hulking in size. Their eyes are shadowed under a hood and heavy brow. Though with excitement in the square is growing, the figure looks more like a harbinger of despair. It'll be a masquerade like no other before. Spread the word. Tell your friends. You won't want to miss this. As the crowd erupts, the massive stranger moves down a side street, escaping with the scent of myrrh. The stranger's lumbering pace is easy to match, and I catch up halfway down the street. Hey, where are you going? As they turn slowly, as if they dread the sight of me.
Blindly to the slaughter, just like the rest of you.
What do you mean? Please, speak plainly.
It doesn't matter what I say. My words won't last. They never do.
The stranger shuffles away, chains rattling. My thoughts race. If they left the protection spell at my shop, did Azra send them? Wait, who are you? My question falls on deaf ears. Confused, I scramble to catch up before the hulking figure can disappear around the corner. They stop on the stairs, broad back to me. Where are you going? With a start, they turn around so quickly that their tattered hood falls back. Were they planning to wait here until I left? Hesitantly, I take a step forward. The stranger turns, broad shoulders almost scraping the walls, and shuffles away from me. Curiosity compels me to follow. When I emerge into the bustling market, my heart sinks. The stranger could easily disappear into the crowd. Or not. I immediately spot the imposing figure skirting around the edges of the market, avoiding the crowd. They stop at a wooden pole, holding up a canopy, but it's far too narrow to hide behind. As I approach, the stranger lumbers away again. The huge stranger pauses behind an apple cart. Even though it's piled high with fruit, they tower over it. Are they trying to hide from me? This time, when I approach, they shuffle behind a stray dog. The stranger seems to realize the futility of the gesture right as the dog gets up and trots off.
Go away.
I just want to ask you something. Stormy green eyes dart from side to side. They might bolt at any moment. Do you know Azra? The stranger stops dead, glowering at me.
Better than anyone.
The rumbling voice sounds irritated, but the answer is sincere. Did he send you to check in on me?
Yes. He's my only friend.
Well, I guess we're not too different then. I trust Azra more than anyone else. I can be your friend.
What? No. Why?
Well, we're both friends with Azra, so I'd like if we could be friends too.
I don't want another friend. Especially not you.
What's that supposed to mean? Have we met?
It doesn't matter. We're not friends.
Could we be? I hear a shouted warning, and I turn just in time to see the apple cart run towards me. I stumble into the uneven cobblestones, and by the time I regain my balance, the stranger's gone. Frustration flares in my chest before it fades, replaced by confusion. I remember going to the square for the announcement, then I walked back to the marketplace. Why did I do that? I can't remember, and there's no time to stop and think. I just need to catch up to Portia. I head back towards the servant's wagon, where Portia is tossing flower petals and rice over the dancing city folk. Kay, there you are. Would you look at the crowd? No incidents back at the shop, I hope. Nothing out of the ordinary? Her smile has a shade of desperation as she bats her eyes pleadingly. I open my mouth to answer, but we're jostled as the wagon lurches to life. Wild laughter follows us down the streets, ringing with the news of the masquerade. Kay? It takes me a moment to register Portia's voice. We're going to be meeting with the courtiers when we reach the palace. Want to know who they are first? Oh, yeah, that would be really helpful. Well, there's Procurator Volta, Praetor Vastimo, Pontifex Fulgora, Quaestor Voldemort, and Consul Valerius. Portia takes up their names rapidly on her fingers. I must look hopelessly lost because she gives me my shoulder, a reassuring pat. Really, Valerius is the most important. Milady minds him more than the rest. The others are a bit, eccentric, but I'm sure they'll be kind to you. When we return to the palace, Portia escorts me to a wing that smells strongly of half a dozen perfumes. I know we've reached the parlor door by the music and cackling laughter inside.
Go on then, Kay. These people can't wait to meet you.
Her words ground me. People. People. That's all they are. The room is hazy, swimming with elegant plumes of smoke. Soft-lit figures lay about on pillowy couches. The Countess sits behind a gleaming pipe organ, paying no mind to the idle chit-chat around her. But she looks up when I enter, her elegant fingers striking a victorious chord. Welcome, Kay. She turns the pages of her music, nodding to me with an encouraging smile. Portia, please introduce our honored guest.
Announcing Kay, friend of the palace and apprentice to Azure the magician.
I try to put faces to the list of names as the courtiers rise from their comfortable seats.
You're Kay? Oh, you're so cute. What a delightful surprise. We were all just talking about you. Sit. No, not with them. With me, Kay.
The welcoming gestures take me by surprise. I hadn't expected such enthusiasm. Her manicured hands draw me down on the couches into the fold of conversation. The Countess watches me from where she plays a pipe organ, drawing contemplative tones. Tell me, Kay, how was the announcement received?
One can only imagine. Even we, the favorites of the Countess, had no idea. Such a beautiful surprise from our dearest Countess. A masquerade. Ha! We don't even have to work.
How lucky Kay would have to be to get a word in with you all. Goodness.
Oh, my worm. Word. How lucky she already is. To be taken in by the Countess, an unknown apprentice.
Nadia arches an eyebrow at Flastamel, but says nothing. Risky, risky. So very unlike our thoughtful and meticulous Countess. I flinch. Voldemar's voice is soft and chilly, with none of the enthusiasm of the others. Perhaps even the Countess might inform her adoring court how exactly she found herself at the witch's door that night. Counsel Valerius rounds the couch, looking down his nose at me. He spreads his arms, turning to address the entire room. Or perhaps the witch may tell us herself. Perhaps don't call me that. Volta, Vlastimil, and Volgora round on Valerius, their mouths agape in angry gasp. Witch? Of course, I misspoke. You are but an apprentice. The consul narrows his eyes at me, even as the Countess' sonorous voice rises over the whispers. If you all wanted so badly to know how that night transpired, you might have simply asked. My headaches have grown worse, and I was having some trouble sleeping.
As you have been for quite some time, Countess.
Yes, Procurator. On that night I woke with haunted by the spectre of a dream, no escape from my mind. Indeed, I was seeking anyone who would be of help for me. It was I who was lucky to come across the one I needed so soon. A benevolent universe brought us together, did it not, Kay? Her glimmering red gaze falls fondly on me, and the courtiers shift, studying me with new intensity. The moment is broken by an airy sigh as Consul Valerius peers at me through his wineglass. A benevolent universe. With respect, Countess, your mind may have been occupied of late. You must remember that we, your adoring court, are ever at your side. He throws his arm wide with a flourish, spilling the contents of his wine-glass. The wine splashes across the front of my garments. A collective gasp sweeps through the room as the livid liquid seeps in my skin and clothes. The Countess rises from her organ, her expression murderous.
How clumsy of me. Surely you know some hocus or pocus to remedy this dilemma? Enough, Valerius. You have exhausted my patience for tonight. All of you, out. Tiptoeing around the splattered form, the courtiers file sheepishly out the door. I remain with the Countess, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Kay. We must rid you of these ruined clothes, of course. 'Tis such pettiness. But I have taken enough liberties with your wardrobe, so please do not hesitate. Tell me what you would like. And Kay, spare no expense. Portia stands at the ready as the Countess folds her hands, awaiting my request. It seems as if Nadia wants me to ask for breeches. Does she like showering people in gifts? Silks, furs, gold, and jewels. Okay. I would do no less for my guest. How delightful. Well, then you have begun to realize your worth to me. It pleases me immensely. But you must tell me in detail. Silks in what colors? Furs, do you prefer them coarse or fine? The Countess steps closer to me, amusement shimmering in her eyes as she gestures to my neck. Gold will certainly flatter you, but nothing heavy. How do you feel about emeralds? In my land, the most brilliant emeralds can be found nearly anywhere. One only need look. Portia, send for an emerald from my personal grimoire, a selection of emeralds. If our guest has taken an interest in luxuries, I will imagine she would want to choose. Right away, milady. Portia sweeps out the door past us, but the Countess's glowing gaze never leaves mine. Until then, you must get out of these clothes. Fortunately, we're not far from my bathing chambers. Come, Kay. Nadia offers me her hand and leads me gently by the arm to a different door. In the last shade of sunlight, the Countess's bathing chamber is cast in a fiery glow. She bids me to undress, waiting patiently behind a screen while I fumble with my clothing. Would you like any help? Before I have to answer, she gives a sweet musical laugh. She's only teasing me. You mentioned silks, did you not? I wonder if black is your color. As I hover before the bath in my flimsy undergarments, Nadia approaches from behind me. I suppose we'll have to see for ourselves. Will this do, Kay? She presents me with a black dressing gown, lovingly embroidered at the collar and sleeves. Just then I hear footsteps approaching from down the bedroom hall. Nadia leans away from me, sighing. Then that would be Portia with the emeralds.
I brought 3. Oh, pardon me. I didn't realize we were in dressing gowns.
Sharing a cheeky look with the Countess, Portia presents me with 3 glittering emeralds in an open chest. They're all of similar size, catching the warm light in a different way. One in particular catches my eye. An excellent choice. I have but a particular fondness for that one. Let us see how it suits you. Turn, please. I turn and lower my head. The Countess's delicate fingertips draw a wave of shimmer as she fastens a chain around my neck. Lovely. Placed so wonderfully with these curious eyes. It must be yours. Her touch slides under the slim golden chain, pulling so that the jewel sits properly above my heart. It feels comfortable to wear it. Deep contentment thrums from its place against my skin. Well then, perhaps we should leave you to your bath. Portia?
Yes, milady.
She moves to the hallway out of sight. Even as she leaves, I feel the ghost of Nadia's touch, her gaze, ever penetrating, ever contemplating deeper. My touch lingers on the jewel for a moment longer before I disrobe completely and sink into the tub. When I'm bathed and return to my guest quarters, I find myself toying idly with the jewel. In a gradual wave of awareness, I start to recognize its energy. Am I mistaken? No, I know the feeling too well. This is Azur's magic, radiating from the gem in gentle, soothing ripples. I was able to track Julian earlier.
Could I somehow find Azra with this? Just the thought makes my heart swell with an almost painful hope. I lie in wait until the halls are quiet, midnight perhaps, before I steal out of my room. With the emerald hanging from my neck, I am enveloped in a dreamy calm. The thought of hearing Azra's voice again. I wander through the empty halls and out into the veranda. Below, I see the gardens, shady and lush. From up high, I can see that the middle forms of the maze of greenery. Silently, I descend to the garden path, shrouded in a warm breeze. The musical sound of falling water grows louder and louder, and I reach a fountain. Around it is a wide gazing pool, and overhead is a rich willow tree. Hanging from the tree, Faust! She flicks her tongue, hovering above the gazing pool. Didn't you go with Azra? What are you doing here? Her weight drops eagerly onto my shoulders, sleek body giving me a friendly squeeze. Was she waiting for me? Did she know I was looking for Azra? I take a seat on the edge of the pool and lean over to peer into the reflective water below. Faust takes immediate entrance in the emerald, tongue flicking after it as I lift the pendant from my neck. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, even breath, holding the jewel over the water, and drop it. Light catches every glimmering green face as it sinks to the bottom of the pool. The water starts to change, colors blooming and shapes unfolding. The longer I concentrate on the shapes in the water, the more they change. And before I know it, my reflection is fading away, and in its place, I see Azra, drawing water to his face and drinking deeply. Each drop that trickles from his hand sends ripples through his image as it strikes the surface. I am so shocked to see him that I can only gape silently, afraid that any sound will break the spell. And he shakes out his hair, blinks the water from his eyes, and looks straight at me. Kay? Can you hear me? I nod, barely able to believe it myself. If this is no spell of his, then how did I... Azra looks surprised as I am. He leans forward, close enough that I can see droplets on his eyelashes. Incredible! He laughs, and I see that he's now sitting cross-legged, probably beside a pond. His mount, the strange beast from before, is lying beside him, resting his weighty head on his knee. Ah, and Faust is with you. Looks like she found you all right. I wasn't all that sure about leaving her, but after that reading you gave me, well, I thought I'd trust my intuition. Tall palms sway behind him against a glittering sea of stars. His hair catches starlight in every whirl. Faust dips her tail into the water, sending tiny ripples across the image.
Faust, you're looking lively. Being around Kay does that to you, doesn't it?
I'm glad she's here. Faust looks very proud of herself. Now that I'm over the shock of finding her, I'm beyond relieved to have her near. In the reflection, Azra looks plenty pleased with himself, too. And I'm glad you're here, Azra. His face flushes, and the beast on his knee gives a rumbling snort.
I see a willow tree behind you. Are you at the palace?
I nod, and launch into telling him everything that's happened since we parted. The more I speak, the more his eyes glimmer with keen interest.
Unbelievable. The day I leave was the day you needed me most. Even then, you didn't really need me at all. Oh, I'm glad Faust is with you at least. If anything happens to either of you, I'll know, and I can live with that.
You look tired. Azra's expression is sleepy but content. His secret escapades must have been fulfilling today.
I don't feel tired. I was just about to get into the water, actually, but you beat me to it.
I roll my eyes while Faust slides across my lap to take sniffing flicks at the water.
Faust is opening up to you. Maybe time for me to do the same.
I nearly choke. My face must be a sight because it makes him laugh, high and unrestrained.
No, really, it's true. I want to start being more honest with you. What's on your mind? Ask me whatever you like. All that I ask is that you start being more honest with me too.
His gentle gaze washes over me, bringing me calm, but I have a few burning questions. Who is Julian to you? I see the depth of emotion that crosses the doctor's face when he speaks of Azra.
Julian. Yes, he goes by that name too. I knew him by another. He was a friend once. And more than something else. Who is Julian to me? He to anyone, really. Whoever he needs to be to get what he wants. I think he would come for me after all that. Let's leave it at this. He's a hack physician with a lot to learn. Until he does, nothing good will come of him.
With a deep sigh and a shake of his head, Azra clears the heavy mood and he smiles.
Is there perhaps something else in your mind?
His twinkling eyes search mine with a wordless depth. Who am I to you? Azra's soft eyes go wide and his lips part. For a moment he looks confused, almost hurt. He sighs, folding his hands in his lap, and leans forward to look me square in the face.
Who are you to me? Well, I hope you're ready to know. I'm glad you asked. It's been so hard to keep from you. You're not a student to me. You never have been, actually. You've helped me grow, and I've learned just as much from you as you have from me.
But is that all? He peers up at me through his swaying curls.
Nowhere close.
Do you want it all? I nod without even thinking. He seems to hesitate, and then he closes his eyes. I draw back from the pool as it starts to gently churn, glowing brighter. Glistening, Azra's image emerges from the water before me. His form shivers and gleams like a bubble more than a solid being. But it's him. As if he's standing in the pool, but if I were to touch him, the magic holding him there would burst and scatter.
We're no closer than before, but it's better this way. You wanted to know it all, so I'll tell you properly. How deeply, how completely I've come to care for you. I didn't think I could feel this way. I even tried to deny it. How could I deny it when my chest is so light? When I can do anything if I'm with you? Every day my love for you grows brighter and brighter until it consumes me. Sometimes I'm afraid you can see it, and I have to escape, to hide from you.
Tremulous moonlight shines through his hands, just shy of cradling my head.
I don't want to hide anymore. I don't want to keep secrets from you. I want you to know. I want you to remember.
The perfect recreation of his face draws closer to mine, searching my eyes. He wants me to remember? How could I possibly forget? My heart is racing. His words are resonating through me in waves. All this time, I've wondered what he feels for me, why he chose me to call his home. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me. Suddenly, my chest grows painfully tight. Azra's eyes flash with concern, intangible touch hovering over my shoulders.
Kay?
The strength leads my legs, dread sweeping over me as I drop to my knees on the lip of the fountain. I can't speak.
Kay, no.
Dizzy, I drop to my shaking hands. It looks strange to me, foreign, but I need to tell him. He said he loves me.
Please look at me, Kay. Kay.
I drag my gaze to Azra's panicked face. The pain becomes unreal, like my heart might twist itself out of my chest.
Okay, look at me. Breathe. I'm so sorry. I was reckless. I shouldn't have tried. Kay, I need you to forget.
Forget? There was no way I could. Even if it kills me, not when I finally know.
Forget, Kay.
I feel, if only in my mind, his lips press against my forehead as I'm made of glass. All at once, the tightness in my chest bursts like a cool mist, spreading through my veins. Soft, rolling smoke fills my mind, concealing my questions,
concealing my thoughts. As fine droplets settle into my skin, I feel a sense of returning to myself. My breath becomes ragged, shallow. Azur's image is gone from the water, and I must have overused my magic. Faust watches me curiously, curled on the edge of the pool, as I rise to my feet. Come on, Faust. I know we'll see him again soon. The ache of longing is heavy in my chest, though I'm not quite sure why. With a shake of my head, I gather the serpent into my arms and head back inside. Alright, well, that is the end of Book 5, and in the next video, we will start on a route. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for being here. Goodbye now.